Welcome to the next video of CISSP certification training, Domain 1 Security and Risk Management. Information security architecture includes a set of artifacts to ensure security controls exist for organizations' critical assets and security risks are managed appropriately. A good security architecture should support overall business goals and objectives by minimizing the risks. When developing a security architecture, there are three main things to consider, and they are people, processes, and technology. Some examples of security standards and frameworks that could help with building a security architecture are ISO 27000 series, NIST SP 800 series, SOCA COBIT framework, or other industry specific regulations like PCI DSS for financial companies, HIPAA for health organizations, GDPR for European privacy, and so on. Security controls can be divided into different categories where practically they create different layers of protection. The 6 main control categories need to be understood and considered when developing an information security program. Preventative controls are the controls that help with preventing risks from happening. Examples are antivirus, IPS, encryption, firewalls, fences, locks, and etc. Detective controls help with detecting a risk or an incident as it happens. Examples are alarm, surveillance cameras, SIEM solutions, IDS, and so on. Corrective controls are used to respond to a discovered risk or an incident and mitigate that. Examples are antivirus signatures, patching, backup restores, and so on. Recovery controls are the type of controls to assist with recovering a business after a risk or an incident happens. Examples are disaster recovery, business continuity planning, and so on. Deterrent controls are used to discourage a threat and minimize the risks to the systems. Examples are security guards, docks, barbed wire, and so on. Compensating controls are used as compensating solution for those risks that cannot have full coverage of controls. Examples are separation of duty, job rotation, insurance, and so on. Internal insiders are one of the biggest threats to the organizations. It's important to have enough controls in place to ensure personnel, whether they are internal or third parties, are vetted and cleared from security point of view before they have access to any of the systems and solutions within the company. Some examples in this category are background checks on the employees before hiring them, terminating employee access when it is needed and revoking all the access as soon as the contract is terminated, training users on security concepts, requirements, policies, and standards of the company, monitor and manage the security risks associated with the third parties, service level agreements, incident management, right to audit, termination clause on third-party contracts are a few important things to keep an eye on when signing a contract with a third-party vendor. Organizations use security policies and standards to identify their security requirements and senior management's view on security and their expectations. The users need to be trained on those documents and those policies and standards and adhere to them. There are a few different types of documentation that need to be considered and understood. Policy document outlines senior management's expectations of security, and it's a very high level document. Standard is a more focused document that formalizes mandatory security requirements to protect assets. Procedures are normally step-by-step documents that explain how to perform security functions within organizations. Guidelines outline recommendations, statements, and instructions. And baseline, they identify and clarify minimum security requirements for technology specifications, configuration, and architecture. The table below shows the description of each document type and whether they are mandatory or discretionary. When developing a security program, you need to think about the security policies, standards, procedure, and how basically they need to be developed and they need to be used within the organization, and how users and the employees need to be aware on these policies and how they need to be trained on these policies. As you can see on the table, security policies, standards, and procedures are mandatory documents, while security guidelines and baselines could be optional.